These are some hernia belts I used to wear, but I don't need them anymore. This video is about my experience and what I've learned, and that there is hope to cure hernias without surgery. So we're going to call this Hernia Hope. Now I have this theory that, hernias aren't normal. I don't think cavemen had hernias. I think what happened is with civilization, people started not being as active, and the muscles down there were weakened, and that's why we got hernias. That's just a theory. Here's my beehive, one of them. And there's some bees. Okay, mine started about 2 years ago. I'm looking at the mirror and I'm feeling down there. And there's some bulge or something. I'm going, what the fuck is this, right? So, this is an aerial view. And, cock and balls. By the way, there's a bone here. You can feel it. Anyway, mine started right here, right above this bone. And it was like a bulge, that came out about, this big, maybe the size of a apricot or something. And then I just lived with it. I just let it go, and sometimes I'd push it back in. There was no problem pushing it back in. And I basically just lived with it. And there was no pain whatsoever, and I walked around, I did my things, and every once in a while it would pinch a little bit, and then I would have to push it back in, but that was real easy to do. Now there's a lot of different kinds of hernias, and this one, the kind that comes out, is called an inguinal. Now, to be honest with you, at first I didn't know what the fuck this was. I thought, maybe I had a tumor or something. And then what happened is the hernia word just popped into my head. And I looked it up and I said, yeah, that's what I got. I got a hernia. Okay, here's our drawing with our famous bone. And I have this kind of a joke. It's like, when God made us... I think what he said, I think I did a good job, but right down here, I don't know. I did what I could, but I'm not sure if it's good or not. Now, I want to tell you about the hole. I mean, where does this thing come from, right? So, supposedly, what happens is you have, several muscles, I guess. And what happens is there's a hole opens up between muscles, okay? Now, the exact size of this thing was only this big, okay? Roughly. I could take the pad of my index finger and cover it and plug it, okay? So, but even though it's a small hole, it's just amazing how much stuff comes out of that, I mean, the size of an apricot, and then towards the end it was, bigger. We'll get into that. Okay, let me blow this up a little bit. It's still an aerial view. Man, I'm shit for drawing. Cock and balls. And here's your bone. And it comes out. Now, if I just laid on my back in my bed, I could push this in real easy. Just massage it. Every once in a while it'd be a little bit difficult, but eventually I would just get it in. Push it all back in, and then I could cover the hole with my finger. This is my eucalyptus tree. I planted that from seed a long time ago. It's about 60, 70 feet tall. And the seeds are tiny. I mean, like the head of a pin. It's amazing what can come out of a tiny little seed. Just some genetic code. My eucalyptus tree. Okay, when it comes to pushing it in, I just laid down on my back and mostly it just went right in. Sometimes you could do it standing up. And every once in a while there'd be a little bit of a problem and you just, massage it and work it and you finally get it in. There's my little cheeps. Huh, look at them. One time I did it in the middle of, I was in town and I just, found a place where there weren't that many people and just laid down on behind this building and, put it in. Because sometimes the tennis ball gets dislodged and then it comes out, so you just put it back in. Easy as pie. Now, like anybody else, I did a lot of research and I found out that you had to get an operation to fix this thing. And by the way, this is my little wind charm. You just stretch some wire, some fishing line or whatever, and it makes a real cool sound in this box. Goes for a long ways. Here's my puppy dogs. So I went and made an appointment with Dr. Tofi in Beverly Hills. She's like one of the top doctors in the world on this shit. And in Beverly Hills, no less. And so I go to see her, and $750 for just a consultation, right? And I'm talking to her, and so I asked her, I said, is there any cure for this, besides surgery? And she said, no. That's the only way to fix this is with surgery. And every doctor will tell you the same thing. That the only way to cure this fucking thing is to, get an operation. And they go in through I guess they go in close to your tits and they blow up your abdomen and go down there with those little robotic arms and, stitch. Do a lot of stitching. I said, well, she's talking about putting mesh in and what have you, and the probabilities of chronic pain, which is not fun. And I said, well, why can't you just sew it up? And she said something. She said, well, the muscles are too weak down there. If I sew it up, there's a chance, I guess, that the stitches would tear out or something. And that hit me. I'm going, oh, the muscles are too weak, huh? Well, what if I strengthen the muscles? And so I started an exercise thing. We'll get into that in a second. Because at first I was thinking, well, if I strengthen these muscles, maybe she can just sew it up and not have to put in mesh, which is a lot of negative things about mesh. And so I left, and I decided I was going to try to strengthen these muscles. And that's what I did. I started doing special exercises, which I will get into in a second, thinking that I would strengthen these muscles so that she could have a solid base to do the, to sew it up and not have to do weird shit like grab, other muscles from other areas, what have you. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to strengthen these muscles, what if I strengthen them a lot more and close up the hole? And so that led me to the solution to all this shit. Okay, so how much does all this cost, right? Well, the doctor's about maybe 5 grand, 6 grand. And then you got to pay the hospital for the operation while she uses it, which is another 5 grand or so. So you're looking at about 10 grand. That's the cost on this. Now I have Medicare, but I don't have the fancy one. I got the basic one, so I don't know if it would have covered all of that or not. But the main thing is, with the surgery, you are risking chronic pain, which is forever, you know. And that's really a bitch. So anyway, there's that on the cost. Okay, so I'm going along, I'm doing my exercises, but what happened was this thing started getting bigger. Okay, and it started to become worrisome. So our famous bone here, and the hole. So, before it was, relatively mellow, maybe the size of an apricot, but then it started getting bigger. All the way up to the size of a potato when it came out. And I'm still, letting it do its thing, but now I'm starting to get a little bit worried because supposedly this can go down into your ball sack. Okay, so I decided, hey, it's time for a belt. Now the first one I bought was this one, which is a guy's got a website. It's supposed to be super comfy, and it is, but you know what? It doesn't do shit. It doesn't stop the hernia from coming out. Maybe it's supposed to stop it from getting bigger. I don't know. And then I bought, but I started using the tennis ball with this one. I'll get into that in a second. And that worked. And then I bought another one from Amazon. And this one again is about 50 bucks. You put your right leg through here and Velcro closer. And it worked great too, But only with the tennis ball. Only when you put your tennis ball in here to cover up that hole will this thing stop it from coming out. By itself, it doesn't do shit. And so I decided, I needed to keep this thing in while I'm working on my muscles, and it worked really well, So there's that. There's the deal on the belts, and I'll expand on the tennis ball a little bit later here. Okay, now I want to talk about the tennis ball, the famous tennis ball. So you have this little tiny hole. I'm going to do a side view here. Let's just say this is our hole, right? And this is your abdomen, whatever, and going down to the legs. So if you just wear the belt, right, the belt, it doesn't do shit. I mean, it may stop it from popping out a lot, but it doesn't solve the issue of covering that hole. And that's where the tennis ball comes in. That tennis ball right there will cover that hole. Okay, perfectly. So, like if I have a blow up here, this is the hole. And now let's make it green because it is green. You put your tennis ball on top of that. Okay, it's just perfect. It just covers this hole. Okay, so I would stick the tennis ball. See, this is the pad it comes with. God help me. Okay, so you put this belt around you, right? And this is the pad it comes with, but it doesn't do shit. So you put the tennis ball right here, and you have to position it over this hole. Okay? And sometimes you don't get it right, but if you get it right, it will perfectly cover this hole. You wear your belt, and you're all done. You're good. Okay? Okay, the way these belts will look when you have them on, or how they work, is we're going to do a top view of your torso right here. There's your legs. And the belt just goes, there's a loop. There's a loop right here that you stick your right leg or your left leg, depending on what it is. Stick your leg through that, and then you cinch it with, Velcro. So when you're done, it'll look like this. It'll be around your torso, okay? And a little loop will be through the leg. And the tennis ball will be right under here, plugging the hole. The belt will be around it. So there's your tennis ball, and then the belt is actually around it. So that's how it works. So the other reason for wearing this belt and the tennis ball is to keep this thing in all the time as much as possible. Now I would take it off when I went to sleep or when I took a shower, and I would make sure I'd push it in before I went to sleep. And these things are comfy. They're comfortable. You can shit, piss. It's no big deal to wear these at all. Okay, let's talk about muscles. And we'll go back to my famous drawing. I don't know if I'm getting better at this or not. Alright, this is again an aerial view. And here's our famous bone. And here is the hole that we're trying to close up. Now there's different muscles, okay? You've got your abs up here, the famous six-pack, right? That's not what you want to worry about. There's a muscle down here. Not sure exactly where, but this is the muscle you want to strengthen. And you can feel it when you put your hand down there and lift your legs. You'll feel the tightening, and that's what you want to work on. Okay, so how do you start these? How do you strengthen these muscles? Oh God, I'm such a shitty drawer. This is supposed to be my legs. But the idea is to lay down on your back in bed, which is where I would do it, and lift your legs. Not very far, maybe 5-6 inches. And then feel down here. Okay, feel down here where the hernia is. And feel that muscle, it has to tighten up. And after a while, you'll be able to tell when that muscle is tight. And you'll be able to focus on it also. But that's the muscle you want to tighten. And if you just do leg lifts, like just a little bit up, that sucker will tighten up. Now what I did is, I would lay in bed, and I would do an initial lift. Okay? Just an initial. Just hold it for a few seconds. Lift my legs and hold it for a few seconds. Then, I would lift my legs and I would count to 57. Now when you first start out, you may not be able to go that long, but I just lifted it. I started at 57, I kept going at 57. That's my favorite number. And then when I was finished with that, I would just do another initial, or a final, I guess. Just lift my legs for a few seconds to tighten that muscle again. And that was the routine. That's what I did. And that's the treatment right there. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Now there's some other things I did, which we'll get into in a second. Did you know that you can grow celery? I'm inside my greenhouse here, getting ready for planting a lot of stuff this year. But anyway, you can grow celery. You just, this is just the bottom of it. I just cut it off and it's going to start growing. Yeah, that one's already coming up. You just, stick it in some dirt and it'll grow. So anyway, before you do your leg lifts, make sure that it's in. You got to push it all in. So you lay it on your back and, you push it in and then you start doing your leg lifts. I thought I'd add that. And this is a cool piece of wood. Look at that. And there's one other thing I did. I did some running. I ran, close to a mile or a mile every morning. That's the best time to exercise. And just jogging, just lightweight. And I used these weights. These are 5-pound weights. Okay. And I put these on my arms, and while I was running, I had these weights on. And they're 5 pounds each, but they're actually designed for ankles, but it's not a big deal. Okay, there is that. And then after I did the running, I go lay down on my bed and do the leg lifts. This is my pond. There's a little mosquito fish in there and a few goldfish. So anyway, one day I would take the belt off when I took a shower, and I noticed that it hadn't come out in a while. So I just took the belt off and started going about my business, and it didn't come out. It was like it was solved. It was cured. Now there's just a tiny bit, it comes out a little tiny bit out of the hole, but I think eventually that'll totally close up. But it's only the size of maybe, I don't know, a thimble maybe. It's, the hole is pretty much closed. It doesn't come out. So I haven't worn a belt in about 2 weeks now. Anyway, that's what I learned. That's what happened to me. And hopefully you can cure your hernia as well. There's one of my beehives. Bees are funny. They always work. They never stop working. Look at that. Alright guys, that's my video. What I did is I started a membership site also, where people can talk about their experience and, join a group and share information and support, what have you. It's pretty cheap. I got to pay for the server somehow. It's $7.47 a month. So if you want to join up on that, the link is on the site. When I started this, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to solve this problem. By the way, this is my battery house for my solar system. It's got the inverter and the charge controller in there. I built this. It took a long time. I built it out of rock. It's amazing how long shit takes. Anyway, I was going against the medical industry, and it is an industry. I mean, they don't want to cure you, they just want to sell you drugs. I'm going to put a silver cross here. That was my idea. But it worked. And I was pretty much amazed. So, in summary, this thing, you can cure this shit. And save yourself a lot of money and save yourself the risk of chronic pain, which is a real bitch. So anyway, we've got a membership site, and we're going to get some members, and it's pretty low on the subscription, $7.47 a month, to help you guys along. And if you want to donate, you can donate PayPal, hb@lighthousenova.com. And finally, how long did this take? Well, it took me about a year, but I didn't really push it. I did it every day, more or less. A lot of days I missed. So about a year. I've heard some guys on YouTube did it in a few months by really going after it. So there you go. This is the end of the video, and I hope you guys make it. I hope you guys do it and try it and have success. And follow my footsteps, buddies. All right, that's the end of the video. There you go. Start seeing on. Okay, the exercise program, I wanted to keep this thing in, okay? And shit. One more time. So, shit. Here we go one more fucking time. Now this belt comes with the pad, of course, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do shit. It doesn't cover the hole. It stop it from coming out a little bit more. I don't know, but fuck. Cut that fucking thing. I love my little cheaps. They come when I call them. Cheap. They like hamburger. Let them go. Hamburger's the best for little cheaps.